Long ago, before time was counted in seconds, minutes and hours, there existed a world where every god had his domain. Gods of wisdom, gods of wisdom, gods of war, gods of love, gods of death, and one god, just one, whose sole purpose was to be the god of hope. For millennia, men prayed to him for help in their times of need, and he answered. But then something happened. Men forgot about the little miracles he performed for them. They forgot to pray to the god of hope, and without faith he lost all his power. And so the god of hope became a man. To this day, no one knows how long he walked the earth as a powerless man. Some say it was decades, others say centuries. But eventually he came across a quaint town nestled in a valley. The townsfolk were poor, but they were kind and welcoming to the stranger who appeared in their midst. And so he stayed. He lived as an old man amongst these simple folk. He worked odd jobs for them, chopping wood, mending fences, and at night he slept in a cave outside of town. Even though he didn't remember what it was like to have faith in him, the townspeople did. In their prayers, they asked the gods of wisdom, war, love, and death to bless them. And always at the end, they added, "And may the god of hope watch over us." Now, even though he had no powers, whenever he was near, small miracles happened. Crops grew bigger than any other farm nearby. Animals seemed to sense his presence and would come up to him, and small pebbles levitated off the ground when he approached them. These weren't big miracles, but they were enough to make the townspeople think that perhaps the god of hope had abandoned them. After all, why else would he let them struggle with poverty and disease? One day a young girl was skipping stones by the river when she fell and scraped her knee. She cried out in pain and looked down at the blood seeping through her ripped dress. She knew she needed to get home before her mother noticed she was hurt, but as she tried to stand, she felt her knee buckle beneath her. That's when she saw him. The old man everyone in town thought was a harmless hermit was sitting on a nearby stone watching her. She didn't know it, but he had been watching her since she arrived at the river. He didn't know why, but he felt compelled to help her. So he slowly made his way over to her and asked, "Can I help you?" She looked up at him, startled. She had never spoken to the old man before, but something in his eyes gave her courage. "Please, sir," she said, holding out her injured leg. "I can't walk." He looked down at her wound and, without thinking, held out his hand. She hesitated for a moment, then placed her hand in his. As soon as their hands touched, a warm feeling spread through her leg. She gasped and looked down to see that her knee was already healing. The scrape was gone and the bleeding had stopped. She wanted to thank him, but before she could, he had already disappeared. She ran all the way home, bursting through the door and collapsing onto the floor. Her mother rushed to her side, demanding to know what had happened. She told her about the kind old man and the miracle he had performed for her. At first, her mother didn't believe her, thinking it was just a fairy tale he had told her. But when she saw the healed wound on her daughter's knee, she knew better. That night she told the whole town about the old man and the miracle he had done. Everyone in town was amazed. Could it be that the god of hope hadn't abandoned them? Maybe he was still watching over them. From that day forward, people started praying to the god of hope again. Every night, hundreds of prayers reached him in his cave. At first he was confused, not understanding why they were praying to him. Then he remembered who he used to be. With each prayer, fragments of his divinity returned. He could feel power surging through him, filling him with strength and purpose. It was glorious, but also terrifying. He had lived a peaceful life as a man, and now that peace was gone. He was being pulled back into a world he didn't recognize. He tried to resist pushing away the prayers that reached him, but the townspeople were desperate. Their town was dying. Crops failed, animals died, and sickness swept through their children. They needed the god of hope, and he couldn't bear to see them suffer. So he embraced his power and moved back into town. The townspeople rejoiced. They built him a house, a temple. They brought him food and begged him to perform miracles for them. And he did. But as time went on, he grew more and more uncomfortable. He was powerful beyond measure. He could heal anyone with a single touch, raise the dead, part the sea, and bring the sun and the moon to halt in the sky. But all of this came at a price. People expected him to do these great miracles, and if he didn't, they grew angry. They demanded he perform miracles for them. And when he refused, they threw him out of their town, cursing his name and calling him a false god. He didn't want to be a god anymore. He had seen too much pain, too much suffering. He had walked the earth as a man and learned humility. He understood kindness, compassion, and empathy. And now he was supposed to forget all that and become a god who sat on his throne and let his followers do all the work. He wasn't sure what to do, torn between his duty to the people and his desire to live a quiet life. But the answer was taken from him when a great earthquake shook the town. Houses collapsed, roads cracked, and people screamed in terror as the ground split open. This was no natural disaster. Someone or something was causing this. When he felt the earth shake beneath him, he knew he had to do something. But what? The townspeople looked to him, their savior, their god, and waited for him to fix their problems. But how could he? He wasn't really a god, just a man who had once been a god. He was tired, so tired of being both a man and a god. He closed his eyes, embracing the last of his divine power, and whispered a prayer to the universe. When he opened his eyes, the sun was shining. Birds were singing, and the only sign that anything had happened was a deep crack in the ground where the road used to be. The townspeople cheered and threw themselves at his feet, thanking him for saving their town. He smiled sadly, knowing that the miracle he had performed was the last of his divine power. He had saved the town, but in doing so, he had faded into myth once more. Some say he disappeared that day, leaving the town and its people to their fate. Others whisper he still walks among us, waiting to be remembered again.